Welcome back to Something in the Wilderness, where I discuss the music of Andrew McMahon from throughout his career, song by song. My name's Steve, and I'm looking forward to discussing a lesser-known song in the catalog today. Well, probably not lesser known to the fans, of course, but probably the general population. It's not played nearly as much in concert as last week's song, and I'd bet that most non-fans have never even heard it. I have been curious for years about the meaning behind the lyrics to this one. I'd guess that most fans enjoy this song, but on an arguably perfect album, it's hard to stand out. Let's get to know Miss Delaney a little better. I remember when I first learned about the Everything in Transit album in Media Play nearby where I lived. I describe Media Play as a cross between Best Buy and Barnes & Noble. It had the CDs, DVDs, t-shirts, but also, the books that Barnes & Noble would have. So it was kind of an all-around media store, if you will. Sometimes I would go and hang out there, check out the new music, new movies, or I'd stop by the magazine rack and find out what's new in the music or movie world. I recently wondered whatever happened to Media Play anyway, so I looked it up. And I found out that it actually closed shortly after I picked up the Everything in Transit CD. Anyway, I saw this headline, Something Corporate's Andrew McMahon Fights Cancer. Wow. I was still riding the wave of one of my favorite records of all time, North by Something Corporate. I found out in that article that not only had he fought cancer, had a stem cell transplant, but also he went solo from Something Corporate. I went back and found this article from 2005 online. I couldn't believe it was still out there on entertainmentweekly.com, so you can check it out yourself, and I will link it in the show notes. So, back at Media Play. Luckily for me, Media Play also sold CDs, and the Everything in Transit CD had just come out. And I assumed that the first time I heard Miss Delaney was on the way home to my apartment that day. When I listen to this album, I usually start at the beginning, and I listen all the way straight through. It is just about the perfect album. So comparing this song to the rest of the songs on the album, arguably some of the best songs of his career, it's a bit unfair. But this song is distinctive in its own right. One unique aspect is there's no drummer on the song, only someone listed for, quote, programming. So, let's take it from the top. This song is by Jack's Mannequin. It was track 7 on Everything in Transit, released on August 23rd, 2005. It hasn't been released on any other albums, live recordings, or singles, and there is no music video. This song, along with the rest of the album, was written by Andrew McMahon and produced by Andrew McMahon and Jim Wirt. You heard me mention Jim Wirt in the last episode as the producer of most of the Jack's Mannequin and Something Corporate catalog. You have Bobby Raw Anderson on guitar, Patrick Warren on Moog, which explains those unique sounds in there, and CJ Erickson on programming, which leads me to believe that all the drum sounds were programmed by CJ. He was also the engineer on the majority of the album. According to Setlist FM, this song's been played live between Jack's Mannequin and Andrew McMahon in the Wilderness a total of 46 times. What's crazy is that 5 of those times have been in the year 2020. I was surprised at how few times it's been played live, actually, especially considering there was a 10th anniversary tour where he played Everything in Transit all the way through. I do remember thinking it was quite a treat when I saw it on that tour, though, because it does seem to be a rarity. And I felt similarly during the recent drive-in show in July that I watched on the live stream. That was some of the best $10 I've ever spent. That show was amazing. Those drive-in shows were the most recent time it's been played, but Andrew also played it on his April 1st live stream called the B-Side Bonanza. Now, Miss Delaney is not a B-side in the least, but I would say it's a deep cut. Again, it's kind of a sleeper song on the record. That B-Side Bonanza set list was arguably the best set list of all of the Instagram live streams. He played some other deep cuts like Ruthless, Amy I from Jack's Mannequin, and also Walking By and Letters to Noel. I love the stories he told in that one too. Shoot me an email and tell me if you agree with that. You can find it on YouTube and rewatch it if you like. And I'll also link that in the show notes. Let's move on to some song discussion, shall we? Miss Delaney is not to be confused with Miss America or Miss California. Those are 2 different songs about women in his life. I have done some research on the character of Miss Delaney in the song, and I recently read that this is his wife's least favorite song on the Transit record. I can see why. It's about some other girl. Erin Delaney is said to have been Andrew McMahon's ex-girlfriend. Andrew does thank an Erin D in the liner notes of the Everything in Transit CD, so it can be assumed that Erin is the subject of the song. And though I've been listening to this song for 15 years now, yes, I just realized this week that he says the name Aaron toward the end of the song. Hey, I thought he was saying the words air and. I know. After doing a quick Google search for Aaron, I came across her Twitter, her LinkedIn profile, and her company's website. I thought her very brief bio was interesting. Quote, Aaron is an LA native raised by a couple of Imagineers. She wears the same thing every day, jeans and a white t-shirt, and does the New York Times crossword puzzle. Does anything sound familiar there? Maybe something from an Andrew lyric? So she actually writes copy for some pretty large corporations such as Netflix, Hulu, and Adidas. And looking at some of her work and her professional background, she's clearly a talented woman. When asked about the Miss Delaney lyrics, Andrew responded, quote, I can't really say too much about it, out of respect to her and wanted to protect her privacy, but she's an awesome girl and a great friend who got me through a really tough time. Fair enough. When he played in Portland that year, he mentioned she was from there during the show. Clearly, Andrew did eventually move on from Miss Delaney and return to the true love of his life. And we are, of course, Team Kelly all the way here at Something in the Wilderness. We'll talk more about their relationship when we explore the many songs of which she is the subject. So a lot of Andrew's songs are written as stories from chapters of his life, and I'd place this one in the category of people he's met along the way. The sound of this one is a bit different than the others on the album, though, in my opinion, giving it a nice mid-album pacing between an absolute banger and an emotional ballad. Every time this song ends lately, though, I can hear the opening piano of the next song in my head, and I do look forward to discussing that one someday too. Andrew did state in the April 1st live stream that this song was heavily influenced by Brian Wilson and the Beach Boys. The Pet Sounds record was especially influential on him. He says he listened to it 5 times a day during that time period, so the Beach Boys clearly had an influence making its way into the song. So let's talk about the sound of the song a little bit more. The Moog synth program beat is different from most of the piano rock-driven songs. The Wikipedia for this album lists that a theremin was used during the recording. Well, I learned recently that a theremin is an electronic instrument that is controlled without touching it. How weird. It has 2 antennae and will change sound depending on the relation to the performer's hand to each of those antennae. One antenna represents frequency and the other represents the amplitude. I had to go find some sound clips of a theremin to figure out where this instrument appears in the song. Once he sings Delaney in the first chorus, you really hear a theremin plainly. Once you know what you're listening for, of course. It's possible that it's being used in other parts of the song as well besides the chorus, but the chorus is where it's most prominent. This was a super cool part of the song to dig into for me, because it completely changed the way I listened to it. So check out this clip of what a theremin sounds like. Crazy, right? If you learned nothing else from the show today, I hope that's a cool takeaway for you. It definitely was for me. All right, let's dive into some lyrics. So this song has an upbeat sound to it, although the lyrics are pretty sad, actually. Is it a lost love? Pining for a love he never had? Is Andrew the ex-boyfriend in the song? Or is the ex-boyfriend in the way of their potential relationship? Some fans speculate it's a love triangle. The ex-boyfriend, Miss Delaney, and Andrew. So that chorus, Miss Delaney, what you sad for? It's such a contrast, again, because it sounds so upbeat, but it's such a hopeless theme. She's sad, or he misses her. So why is Delaney sad? Their breakup, or because she's pining for someone other than Andrew? I love the part where he says, she's the vinyl queen from a surfer dream. She likes Beach Boys more than Radiohead. Wait a second. Did you just say Radiohead? I just found out this week that he says radio metal. And honestly, kind of changed the song for me, but that's okay. So that's 2 lyrics that I've been singing wrong in this song for 15 years. Anyway, I think what he's saying with this line is that she's his type of girl because she enjoys the classic instead of maybe what's on the radio. I really love this way of comparing because, as you can tell, I love talking about music. So if you're a classic kind of girl, you like the Beach Boys. But maybe if you're a different kind of girl, you like the metal that's on the radio. I don't know. Again, I thought it was Radiohead the whole time. My favorite lyric of this song, though, it's biblical how my sleep can be, but she won't sleep with me. Such a neat little lyric that rolls off the tongue, you know? So he's struggling with the loss of a breakup or the rejection. But why biblical, though? Because it sounds cool in a lyric? I guess so, because it definitely does. I'd like to point out here, though, that this is one of the very few times that Andrew drops the F-bomb in any of his songs. In fact, it's only one of 3 times on the Transit record, and what's crazy is I could only find one other song in the entire Jack's catalog that he says this word, and it happens to be a B-side. Hit me up if you know which one that is. There are a couple of live performances of this song out on YouTube. As I said, it's not a super common song to hear live unless he's playing it through the entirety of everything in Transit. I will say if you search it on YouTube, the sound quality is a little shaky. There was a clip of him playing part of the song in Detroit in March of 2019, where he just plays it on piano. It kind of plays more of a sing-along format, chorus only. Again, the quality is not great, but you might check it out. There's another live version out there on YouTube where the audio is equally shaky. I'll tell you what, though, the live version we heard on the live stream in July is very different than what he plays on the record. And I never noticed it as much before, but now I notice that the programming and the Moog synth, and yes, even the theremin are missing in the live version. But it's kind of neat to go back and compare the two. So I have some final thoughts here. I'd say this song is definitely more on the pop side of the album as opposed to the rock side. Not exactly a standout in the 11 tracks on Everything in Transit, but it definitely fits right in there somehow. It's a great song, but it's in the middle of a set of exceptional songs. Thank you again for listening. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast and rate it any place you can. We're now on Apple, Spotify, Google, Podbean, and more. Tell a fellow Andrew fan about it. The more subscribers and reviews we have, the more fans will be able to find it. Also, visit and like our Facebook page and Instagram at Something in the Wilderness, and post a comment because I'd love for you to let me know what you think so far. If you'd like to message me directly, email somethinginthewilderness@gmail.com. If you want a guest on the show and talk about your favorite song, drop me a line. My goal here is to give fans of Andrew McMahon, Jack's Mannequin, and Something Corporate a place in the Podverse. I'm open to suggestions on how to make this better. I simply just love all of Andrew McMahon's music. Oh, and hey, I just received the stickers in the mail that I ordered from the same artist, After the Fire Designs, that made our podcast logo. So if you'd like a sticker, shoot me an email with your address. I won't use it for anything else but to send you this sticker. It's pretty cool. So until next time, oh, Miss Delaney.